like to start this show by thanking the people that kept things going while I was down. And I know that I have been down a long time, and we will kind of get into um, what happened to me, but I just wanted to thank the people that have tried to keep things going. I know you guys didn't really have access to a lot of the information of the things that I was working on before I went down. And you did a great job with the limited information that you were able to access. So I just wanted to start off by saying thank you. A lot of advocates kind of had to step up and fill the void, I guess. I used to tell people I do 117 different things for the different community programs, and it's people were like, wow, we don't know where to start. But I told them, if anything ever happens to me, just start wherever you see the need and go from there. Roll up your sleeves and get it done, because at any time anything could happen to any one of us, and the rest of us have to kind of step in. So I guess you can kind of take this as a dress rehearsal for when I'm actually gone on to the ancestors. But many of you know that I have a lot of people who try to keep me from doing the things that I do in the Black community, and try to stop the programs that we do for trying to fix the Black community. There are a lot of people that make a lot of money off of keeping the Black community in the depressed condition that they're in. So I know you guys had a hard time dealing with a lot of issues. It's amazing how much worse things can get in a very short period of time, or a long period of time, depending on how long you're down. But we're going to deal with some of the things that have gotten worse. I know that there are situations that we were working on as groups that we're going to try and get those back on track. It has taken a long time for me to get to the point where I can actually deal with things, still considerable amount of pain, but that goes with the territory. We're going to try and take this as quickly, but as slowly as possible. Those are two opposites there, but we're going to try and get through a lot of information, but I have to kind of take it a little bit slower than you're normally used to seeing me do things, because one, the pain is substantial, and two, I have a long way to go to recover to a point where I can actually sit up and do this for at least an hour or so. So I won't be able to be doing 4-hour long situations like anymore, but we're going to try and get through a lot of information. I'm going to let people know, and I try to get you to understand back in the day that when it comes to the ministries that we do, the Black community programs that we do, they can literally be done anywhere. A lot of you expressed to me that you were having a hard time finding meeting places, and you were having a hard time finding places to continue the programs and to do what you needed to do in order to fix some of the things that are your passions and were my passions before I went down. But understand that I'm going to really not just tell you, I'm going to show you that a ministry can be done anywhere, whether your passion is fixing the things for blacks in homeless situation. I tell black advocates all the time that the homeless situation, you can run your ministry out of a cardboard box on the side of the road, under the bridge, on the sidewalk. It really literally can be done anywhere. And sometimes, people get to thinking the programming makes you think that you need some big giant building and big giant church to try and partner with in order to do your program out of a little office in the back somewhere, because what we do is not religious, so it's kind of hard finding institutions and buildings that will allow us to do the things to fix the black community, because so many people are programmed and make their living off of keeping it the way it is. But you can do a ministry from a broom closet, you can do a ministry from a bathroom, you can do a ministry from literally anywhere that you are able to access your people. I know people that are, took over a school and turned the extra bathroom into an office, and the girls' bathroom becomes a facility where they throw in some chairs and some tables, and they start addressing the issues that have to deal with the young females. And men's bathroom become, they throw some chairs in there, and once you clean it up real good, you actually have a place where, homeless guys can come in and sit down in the chair, and you start working on whatever their situation is. And it really will show you that it doesn't take a whole lot to get your ministry being effective the way that you need to do. And I know a lot of you probably forgot some of the things that I told you about, just keeping it simple, making it where when you're talking to people, children and senior citizens can see that you are doing it on the simplest basis, and it doesn't take a lot, so they too can do it. You shouldn't have some elaborate setup where you got 10-year-olds and 13-year-olds, and they see you, and they should be able to look at you and say, I could do that, without a dime in my pocket. So senior citizens should be able to look at you and see, well, I could do that for senior citizens, and it won't, take a lot out of me. It won't take a lot of money. I can do that starting today. It's not something that they have to save up for or whatever. They can start, right as soon as they finish their meeting with you. And so many of you may have forgotten that, but we're going to get that back on track for you. So I did want to thank everybody for, and over time I will actually thank you a little bit more specifically, because some people really tried their very, very best to keep some of the programs going and some of the projects on track. And I know it was not easy, because I tend to do things a certain way, and once I went down, a lot of things, if you didn't know Just little things like where I put certain information, where items are kept, flyers, whatever. I know you had access to almost none of my paperwork. So, you even didn't have access to my phones. You didn't have access to a lot of things. So, not being able to call me, not being able to do the things that you were used to doing on a daily basis to keep the programs running. I know it was very difficult for some of my college students especially, but you did a great job with the little bit that you had to go on. So thank you so much. I'm going to give you a little bit of idea of basically what happened to me. We do the Black community investigations about any situation that affects the Black community. And one of the programs and investigations that we deal with is the things that are happening with the young people. And many of you have probably kept track for me of the different people that have been the young Black people that are missing or abducted or different situations, or runaways, all kind of things. And we had several situations that we were dealing with at one time. And in particular situations, it's very difficult for advocates because we literally put ourselves in the environment that the young girls are in order to be able to communicate with them and talk to them and try to get them to see that going back home is much better than anything the things that are going to happen to them if they stay out there. And we're pretty good at getting the girls to understand that this is not the situation they want to be in. But one of the situations that we were working on before I went down, before the incident, is a situation with young girls. There are a lot of situations with the young boys as well, but we're going to get to that in a little bit down the line. But there's a situation with the young girls, and to help you understand what happens, you have a young girl. When a child runs away, if they're 12 and under, and they run away, they're usually running from something. Somebody has done something, they're upset about something, or they're scared about something, things like that. If a child is between 13 and 15, they're usually running away from something and to something. So when they're running to something, it's usually a little boy if it's a girl, or a little girl if it's a boy. And they're running to this person because they think that, they're having all of these feelings, and they just think the world revolves around this person, and they just can't be without them. When they're 16 to 18, it's usually somebody that is an escape for them. They're running away from something, and they're simply running to someone who happens to be an escape right now. You'll have a lot of 16 and 17-year-olds that will, they'll let you know they're not really in love with the person they're they're running to be with. It's just a way for them to get away from a situation that they feel is worse. Okay, whether it's that they don't get along with their father, they don't get along with their mother, somebody's trying to mess with them at where they live, neighbors, trying to mess with them, different things like that. And they make up their mind that the only way to get away from the situation is to run away, to get away, to leave. And a person pops up at that opportune moment. And some people do it on purpose. They are opportunistic, looking for young girls that are unhappy with their home lives, or young boys that are unhappy with their home life. And so they become this escape. And if you want to get away from your mom, just call me. If you want to get away from your dad, just call me. And this is how a lot of these young people end up running away. And once they do, they, especially for the females, almost always end up in a situation where they are exploited. They are, or end up in a situation where they become prostitutes for some guy. Now, the situation that occurs with advocates, though, what we find when we get out there looking for these young girls, is that while they may be getting the chain of events, is that they run away with some young boy, or who they think is a young boy, and sometimes that young boy, if they met him over the internet or whatever, ends up being an older man. But anyway, they run away. They usually end up staying with someone, and in exchange for sexual favors, they stay with someone. And this person will let them know that, the rent needs to be paid, the bills need to be paid, whatever. And so it's not long before these young girls are talked into to selling their bodies to make this guy or this boy money. Once this happens, they're out on the street, and now you have the whatever violations the young people think occurred, or believe, or know occurred at home, and added with the violation of now this person that they thought was their rescuer is now violating them, and then they're put out on the street where anybody and everybody, strangers, can violate them. And so it's pretty simple to get to them. The problem is that many of these black guys that are out on the streets trying to be quote-unquote pimps of these young girls are actually working for white police officers. And it's hard to get black communities to understand the damage that has been done with these white police officers being in black communities, because there's so much illegal activity going on involving these white police officers and black police officers working with white police officers and working with white police forces, that it's almost like pulling teeth to try to get the black community to understand what's really going on. So what you do is, as an advocate, you get down there, you get into put yourself in the mix of just being down there talking to the girls and whatnot. And they know you're an advocate. They don't know what organization you're from or whatever, but they know that you are down there trying to help young girls, or down there trying to help young men. And what you find when you first get down there is, in the daytime, it's just young girls trying to find a place to eat. You'll find some of them, that's the only time they get to sleep. They have a very hard time finding a place to sleep, because it is, people won't let you sleep in certain places during the daytime, and you have to worry about waking up and somebody's, messing with you or trying to mess with you. But they try to find a place to sleep. At nighttime, you have this large crowd of young girls, all looking anywhere from 13 to 18, and they're and you have some older women that are in the mix with them as well, but mostly these young girls. And you have these few black guys that are basically going up to cars and whatnot and selling the girls to whoever's in the car. So the person in the car will come up, want a girl. The person, the so-called black male that's calling himself a pimp will actually make the transaction, take the money, let the person pick out a girl or pick out a girl for the person, and the girl goes and gets in the car. And then what you see around about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night is you see these black and white police officers coming through. And you'll see sometimes the white police officers will stay in the car and the black police officers will get out, talk to the black males. The black males go over to the cars and bend down and talk to the white police officer. That means that the black police officer is kind of a go-between. You have white officers that are actually have been in the community been in the black community for a while. They actually feel bold enough to get out the car and go and talk to the black guys themselves. And what you'll see is an exchange of a very large amounts of money, sometimes hundreds, sometimes a couple of $1,000s. And the black males will actually give the white police officers, or give the black police officers, and the black police officers give it to the white police officers, the stack of money. And this is the white police officer literally running these black males that are managing these white police officers' prostitution ring of these young black girls. And it is something that the community, I know, has to see on a daily basis, but many just try not to think about it. But it's a situation that is really, really devastating to some of the girls, because they're threatened with arrest, they're threatened with death, all kind of things. And so around about 2 o'clock in the morning, what you'll see is these white police officers will drive back through, and they'll, the black so-called pimp will go over to the car, or the white police officer will get out, pick one of the girls. This is the end of the night for the girls, but the middle of the night for many of the police officers. So they're well into their shift. They've done a bunch of paperwork for their actual police jobs, and now they're on break, if you will. And so they'll pick one of these young girls, and next thing you know, the girls get in the car with the police officers, and you'll know something is wrong when you see these young girls get in the front passenger seat of a police car. When you see these white police officers, or you see a white police officer in a black community, and they're parked in some dark office parking lot, or a dark, usually normally you'll see them in a restaurant parking lot on a break or things like that. But when you see them in a dark office building parking lot, or sometimes they'll take these young girls behind a dark building, or any place like that where you see a single police officer, a single police car, and you've probably seen it, and you just said that looked kind of odd. But you'll see them just sitting there in their cars in these dark places as you drive by, and you don't really give it a whole lot of thought. Or you may have seen, a young black female in the passenger seat and said that looked kind of odd, but you went on about your way. Um, Sometimes you have white police officers that will try to play it off, and they will actually put the young black female in the back seat of the police car. And if you know, pass by a office office building parking lot, or somewhere behind a building, and you see one of these white police officers, and they're in the back seat of their police car. It's just one police car with a white male in the back seat. Um, you look at yourself, you say to yourself that you know, really look odd. Usually they're having some kind of sexual encounter with these young black females, prostitutes, or these runaways that they take their, and if it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, 9 times out of 10, they're back there doing some things that they should not be doing. These girls have a really hard time when they're arrested, because you know, the black males and the white police officers, black police officers as well, make them make up the money when they get out. So you have a white police officer, if she don't act right, well, actually they take her, run her through the motion, and they'll run her in and put her through the whole process of being arrested, so she knows and makes time to act right. And so they try their best to avoid getting arrested, and so they do whatever they have to do to keep the white males or the black males from arresting them. And it's, you know, of course, like I said, they're threatening with death, or they'll get hit or whatever. But it's a pretty intimidating situation for these young girls, especially when they're only 14 and 15. It's very intimidating. The older ones may, you know, talk back or do whatever, but the 15 and 16-year-olds, 14, 15-year-olds, they have a really, really difficult time resisting a lot of this stuff. So when you see it, even if you were to call 911, this will tell you how bad the situation goes, and how deep the problem is. Even if you were to call 911 and say that you see something odd, there's a police officer just sitting back, what the dispatcher does is they just send out another police car, and the other police car, usually a male, will ride through, and he sees what's going on, and will go ahead and ride off, which is another devastating blow to these young girls, because even the police officer that rode through and saw what was happening didn't do anything, and just went ahead and drove off. There's definitely the blue line is not thin where that is concerned. They pretty much stick together through thick and thin when it comes to the things that are going on with these white police officers. And very seldom are you going to see a black police officer even question what's going on. He may have some issues with it when they first come onto the force, and they're trying to do right and do good and all that stuff, but they quickly learn that this is what happens, and you stay in line, and you don't cause no problems. Anyway, but when you have these black advocates out here, and they're seeing all these things, and they're trying to get these girls to understand that this situation is not good, and that they need to go home, you have some of the girls that will actually decide, yeah, I'm tired of this, I can't do this, or whatever, I want to go home. And we do everything from providing them a ride home to giving them bus fare or cab fare, or whatever it is that they they need in order to get them back home by that night, or at least by the next morning. And um, there's a couple of situations that also occur if they're extremely intimidated, or they have this dysfunctional loyalty to the black male that they're out there for. They'll either tell the black male, that the black advocate tried to get them to go home, at which point the black advocate has to deal with this black male, and that is now threatening and trying to intimidate the advocate, and it can be quite a dangerous situation for the black advocates. But worse than that is when these black females are picked out by these white police officers, and they feel this dysfunctional loyalty to this white police officer, this need to tell the white police officer whatever is going on with them. If he says, if somebody does, if you hear anything or if somebody say something, you better tell me. And so they feel this need to tell the white police officer. They'll tell the white police officer, this one black advocate or these two black advocates or whoever tried to talk me into going home, or been talking to me and trying to get me to stop. And so at that point, it becomes a deadly, usually a very dangerous, if not deadly, situation for the black advocates, because now you have this white police officer that starts, running information, can put in information, false information, can get any information on these advocates, can arrest these advocates. You have what police officers like to do is arrest the advocate, put on some bogus charge or some bogus violation, and they'll put them through the system, and they make sure that there's no phone calls. There's certainly, that you're trying to get access to a phone, and there's no phone. They throw you in a cell. You're in a cell for several days. You don't get access to an arraignment, even though you're supposed to have an arraignment in 72 hours. They'll do your paperwork so that nobody really knows that you're in the system, but you're in there. If you can understand, just some little things like a misspelled name, or a lack of certain identifying information. You're there in the building, but the system may not have you yet. And until they put that information in the system, you're just there. And that can, if someone is literally trying to mess with you, they can wait 3 days to put the information in, and you're just sitting there for 3 days. You have advocates that have different illnesses or situations, anywhere from diabetes to cancer to heart problems or whatever. And if they're arrested and put in that type of situation, then you hear a lot about different people dying in police custody. And we have a lot of advocates who have come close to death, if not death, in police custody, and nobody even knew they were there. You have family members that are trying to find these advocates, they list their family member, the advocate, as missing, and the white police officers know exactly where their family members are, and they make this big production of filling out a missing persons report, knowing all the time that this advocate is in the system. And this happens so many times, it's ridiculous. It's a form of intimidation and whatnot. You also have these white police officers it's hard to get family members. That one of the dangerous situations for advocates outside of the young black females that feel the need to tell the black male that's prostituting or the white police officers, the black police officers. You also have family members who believe in their hearts that these white police officers or black police officers working with white police officers that took their missing person report for their young family member that ran away or was taken or whatever. They really believe that these officers are there to help them and to protect their family member and to find their family members. And all the while not knowing that these white officers know exactly where their family members are. Some may have even be talking on the phone with a family member that's trying to get an update or trying to find out, what's going on so far. And these white police officers just had sex with these young females the night before, or saw a white police officer having sex with this young girl, because it's not hard. The police officers have access to a whole missing persons roster, and at any time they can put in these. They have some of the cars or have facial recognition software where all they have to do is take a picture of the girl and send it to the central information center. There's a central information center where all information goes into, and it'll show that these girls are runaways or was abducted or whatever. So it's not difficult for these police officers to know exactly who each of these girls are. And the family member is sitting there and they're telling the police officers everything. I mean, everybody that they talk to, everybody that is trying to help, everybody that's working on the situation. And they don't realize that they're putting those people in danger, because the police officer is simply talking to them, is simply there, or on the phone with them, trying to find out how close they are, trying to find out how much information they have so far in order to be able to protect themselves and to protect their this illegal activity that's going on. And the family members feed them all of the information they need to know whether or not they need to move these girls from this location to another location because people are getting too close to finding them, or things like that. So the family members really become a danger to the black advocates and don't realize it. So one of the things that occurred with the investigations that were going on were just the things that I just told you. Advocates were arrested. They were held for long periods of time. Some of them are held for 3 days and then just released. Some of them are held for weeks. And you have advocates that are held for months, depending on how effective they are. And when you go, let's say you have a advocate that has, take medicine for diabetes, and we've had advocates that were taken by these white police officers or arrested by these black police officers working with white police officers, and they're thrown into a cell, they're thrown into the system, they're in the lockup, they're processed through the central jail, or they're processed through, usually they take advocates to the county jail because it's easier for you to get lost in the system in the county jail than it is in a city jail or any kind of smaller facility. They pretty much keep a head count of everybody that's there and will quickly know if somebody's there that's not accounted for or that they don't have information on. But in the county jail, you can literally be lost for as much as a year. and people, your paperwork is just sitting somewhere, or somebody can throw it in the trash, and you're just there. You're trying to tell people that you're there, and they don't have the paperwork on you, and one person passes it to the next person, and you're just sitting there for months. But they'll put these advocates in the system and manipulate the paperwork so that they are lost in that system for a while. And we've had advocates that their diabetes got crazy, and because once you stop taking the medicine, you're not able to get to the restroom as properly or whatever. Their legs swell up. They end up losing. You had advocates lose a leg, lose a foot, lose both feet, lose both legs because of the situation, and they didn't take them to a hospital because they didn't even have them in the system. And by the time that somebody actually does realize that it's a life or death situation, it's usually closer to death than anything else. So, there's, for myself, mine was a heart issue, and my heart actually literally stopped. I was thrown in a concrete cell, which is where they tend to throw us when they understand. As an advocate, you get arrested a lot. You do get arrested a lot. But there are some situations where it is life-threatening, and there are some situations where they're literally trying to not so much kill you, but make definitely incapacitate you. And I've had situations where I was dropped on a concrete step, thrown into a concrete room. And you really, when it happens, the reason that you'll hear me always refer to the state plantation, or the county plantation, or the city plantation in these jails and prison facilities, is because that's what it is. You usually have a white overseer that is usually up on some podium, and in all of these facilities, all you have to do is, if you're ever in that situation or even visiting someone, is just look around and you'll see that there's a white person that's in charge, and you have all these black people that are the gatekeepers, and their job is to treat these. You see black people treating other black people. It's a sea of black people. You may see a couple of white people here and there, that have been arrested for various things, but you see a sea of black people. So if you see 300, and that's usually about the size of the amount of people that you see in this room, which is why it's so easy for advocates to get lost in that system. You see 300 of black people, and you may see 4 white people that were arrested. You know that you are in this is a slave catching facility. This is a slave ship. And when you going through the process and you're trying to see what's going on, one of the things they do is you're subjected to these medical injections. They inject you with things that they don't tell you what it is. It's everything from this pink solution that they inject you with, and it is believed that they are injecting people with everything from cancer to they're injecting these black guys. It's believed these black guys believe they were injected with HIV virus, and you have females that come out and suddenly they have within a few months or a few years they're developing cancer, and all these different things, and it's literally you're looking at a slave trade. And what's worse is that now you have blacks that are paying these people to run the slave trade. So there are some things we're going to deal with. There's some things that black people clearly don't understand. For example, some of the male advocates talked about their experiences whenever they get arrested. The males are subjected to the same things that you would see. There's a movie that's called Goodbye Uncle Tom, and some of the male advocates are, when they're brought in, they're stripped down, and they're given this lie. Now, if you notice, perms that black women wear now, you'll see them say that they contain no lye, LYE, and that's a chemical that's the chemical that used to burn your scalp, and it could really cause damage to your scalp and to your hair, make your hair fall out. But these black males are made to hold their hands out, cup their hands together, and lye is poured into their cupped hands, and they are required, they're made to rub this lye all over, this chemical all over their hair, their head, their underarms, and down all the way around, all over their genitalia. And it burns, and you literally have these white male officers and black males, officers working with them, that stand there and count to 45. While these males have to stand there and squirm, and it's burning, and it's burning their skin off almost, and you got black males that are screaming and whatnot, and they're made to count to 45 before they're able to run to the shower and try and get this stuff off of them. Now, how could people? You ask yourself, how could you, as a taxpayer, actually pay for a person? You're paying a person, $2,500 a month, or $2,000 a month to do this to black people. And if you don't know whether or not you're one of the people that are paying white officers and black male officers working for white male officers, if you don't know that whether or not you're one of the people paying them to do this, and you don't know what they're doing down there, you need to find out, because it is, there are people dying. Like I said, my heart literally stopped. And by the time that I actually by the time they get me to a hospital, they usually only get me to a hospital when they know that death is imminent. Before then, they literally take pleasure in knowing that, basically being able to say, if we wanted to, we could have just let you die. Well, you don't really have, I'm one of those real believers in my ministry, in the programs that I do, that I was sent here to do certain things, and you don't get to determine when it's time for me to leave. When it's time for me to go, I will leave. There's not really, I don't have any kind of problem with that whatsoever. But demons and people acting crazy, they don't get to determine when I leave. So even though my heart stopped on a couple of occasions, there are ancestors that come to you, and they literally help you through it. And a lot of people, you have all these religious folks, religious black folks that, they believe in angels. The angels saved me when I had a car accident, and the angel saved my baby when they went out in the street and the car was coming. Yet these same black people don't believe in ancestors. And when you talk about ancestors, they shut down, or their mind, their programming makes them, back away, because they've been programmed to believe that when our elders leave, they're just gone. They're just no more. Their bodies are in the ground, and that's just it. Even though many of the religious people believe in heaven, that their family members that have gone on are in heaven. Well, who do you think these people are that's telling you don't go that way, or don't take that turn, or what? They're right here trying to get you through this situation, and people don't realize how important it is for Black people to stop that programming, deprogram themselves, so that they can understand what's really going on. Because when you're in the slave ships of these counties and cities and federal facilities, you see why people die in custody. You see why Black people die in custody. And more Black people die in custody than you even know about. So we're going to really, I'm going to break down for you as we go along some of the specific things that especially Black male advocates had to go through. It was the Black females go through some ugly stuff, but the Black male advocates go through some demeaning, devastating, life-threatening things that on a daily basis that really, when you're hearing them talk about their situation, you think about that movie Goodbye Uncle Tom, and from the way that they're fed to the way that they're stripped down and made to crawl on the ground, and it's horrible. But these are the things that we know comes with the territory when you decide to fight this fight and become an advocate. And yes, it would be really, really helpful for us if more Black people realize that a white officer in a Black community is not your friend. A Black officer in a Black community working with white police officers is not your friend. If we could get Black people to really understand that, then a lot of these things that we try to do to get these children back home and try to get the situation at home under control and better for these children so they don't keep running away would be a lot better. But as we go along, we're going to deal with some situations, and we're going to deal with some of the things that you guys had to deal with while I was down. And I know it's a lot, but you guys are pretty creative and powerful people. So believe me when I tell you that our ancestors before us had to deal with a lot worse than we're dealing with, and they were able to get some things done. So we have no less a job to do when it comes to our generation and the children that come after us. And believe me, at some point we're going to leave. We're going to be gone. But we have a certain amount of time to make things better and to teach the ones coming after us that this is a fight, and people were literally sent here to do harm to us. And any Black person that does not understand that, then they are part of the problem, and they have to understand and be made to understand that they are part of the problem that is keeping the Black community. It does not make any sense that a Black city can just be completely destroyed in a matter of 2 or 3 generations, and everybody's saying they don't know what happened. Well, if you look at the city before integration, if you look at the city back when Black people were dealing with Black people, and you see that it was a certain way, and then you see a decline after a certain point, Well, it's no different than being on a street or a road or whatever. You drive down that road, and civil rights blacks, we're going to talk about some of the mistakes that they know they made and refuse to go back and fix those situations. But imagine civil rights blacks driving down a highway or driving down a road and realizing at 2 miles that they made a mistake and saying, oh well, let's see what happens. And then they go another 5 miles and they're like, okay, this is not good. Yet they don't turn back and go back to where they know they made a wrong turn and fix the situation and go the right way they were supposed to go. Instead of trying to beg to get into white communities, they should have been fighting to build black communities up and fighting to make sure the whites didn't come and tear those communities down. And they know they made these mistakes. Black people know they made these mistakes, but because they idolize many of these black civil rights people, they refuse to admit that a mistake was made. And now you see whole cities whole black cities just being crumbled, and suddenly after it's gotten to such a devastated state that then white saviors come in and suddenly build the city back up for white people. And I mean, civil rights blacks were told this in the 60s that this was going to happen, and it simply took over the next 50 years. That's exactly what happened. Now, if you know that that's the case, then your question is, how do you fix it? Well, you go back to how it got broken, and we're going to talk about how it got broken. You go back to, you take a look at why it's continuing to be broken, and we're going to deal with the things that are keeping it broken, and then you automatically know how to fix it. And we're going to deal with the things that we know we have to do in order to fix this. Okay, so we're not going to make a lot of people very happy, because, like I say, a lot of people make a lot of money off of destroying these black communities and keeping black people in a depressed state. But if you are a true black advocate and you've decided to take this on to fix things for black people and deal with these issues, you got to deal with whatever comes with the territory. There's a lot of people that came before us that ended up being hung because they went out there to try and get black people out of physical slavery. And you have to be prepared for whatever happens with these city, county, and federal slave ships. The state slave ships are some of the worst. So if you have to be ready for that, because that's the same as those trees that our ancestors were hung from. That's the same as the slave ships they were brought in on. And if you look at the pattern of some of these slave ship prisons and slave ship jails, they look exactly the same. You're housed exactly the same. So we're going to deal with those things. And my motto, if we're still here next time, we're going to deal with some things. Okay?